How did you feel about being excluded? Did you want to join?
I had no intention. It just came suddenly, looked at me. I wasn't even prepared for it. I would have just said, Baba, whatever you say. I said, Baba, keep him out of it.
Are you grateful you're out of it?
Yeah. You know, to become a trustee, then it becomes a great responsibility. And it becomes very formal. There are many sort of bindings there. So, to give your all, it's best to do it from outside.
And it never leaves you. You couldn't retire from it, probably.
Hmm?
It would never leave you. You'd still be doing it right now.
Yeah.
Well, he's still going it right now.
Oh.
Not as a trustee, but as part of the Meherazad community.
The organization that is Baba's work, we try to participate in that. You all come, want to hear about him. This is part of trust work. Everybody tries to do something that would help his cause.
Right.
It's an opportunity that he provides us. Baba says, I do my own work. Now what has brought her, what has brought him? Baba's love has done that. Not by our saying anything, not by doing anything on our part have they come. What brings her here? It's Baba's love that draws all of us.
Jeannie will tell us what brings her here.
Why have you come?
Yeah, why have you come?
Baba's love.
So tell us.
Give us a story what brought you to Baba. Let's hear that.
Oh my God, after all these years,
Yeah.
you could make me talk on a video.
So what? You are taking part in this activity. We are just discussing with each other. Baba is listening, so let him feel happy about it.
Well, we just arrived yesterday, and I always feel it so freshly when I first arrive, coming from the West, and missing that being saturated in Baba's love. I really feel the difference most strongly when we first arrived. And everyone greeting us with so much warmth, and it's just overwhelming the amount of love that I feel. It's very obvious how much more love is here than other places in the world. It's very amazing. So it's definitely is Baba's love.
Yeah, but how did you first get this whiff of love? What was the way he got you?
Well, it was through the ballet.
So tell us.
Well, when I was a little girl.
Speak loud so they get you.
When I was a little girl, my parents sent me to ballet class in Detroit, and Miss Krask was the head of an organization called the Cicchetti Council of America. She was one of the experts anyway. She traveled around the United States interviewing, watching classes of people who taught the Cicchetti method, and probably giving them pointers or whatever, trying to keep them up to snuff to do it correctly. And my teacher was in Detroit, Theodore J. Smith, and she watched him give a class, and so he knew about her. And so when we moved to the New York area when I was 10 years old, he told us to go and interview with her and see if I could get into her class at the Metropolitan Opera Ballet School in New York City. And so because of that connection, I went and had an audition with her, and she accepted me into the children's class.
What was the name?
What?
Cicchetti.
It was a Cicchetti method, was a method of ballet that was being taught
Who was the teacher?
in Detroit.
The one
His name was Theodore J. Smith. He was a very scary man. He used to pound with a stick, and I remember he used to pound this stick all the time and had this big sign, "Think," in the room. And I didn't even know right from left when I was 3 years old when I started, and he used to pound his stick when we didn't get the right and the left thing correct, and used to terrify me. But anyways, I survived him and graduated to Miss Krask, which was very lovely. So I started studying with her.
Margaret.
Yeah, she was wonderful, Margaret Krask. I loved her classes. And so that was I think that was my beginning of connection with Baba, because she brought Baba's atmosphere into the class. And I remember I used to, we'd be doing things in class, and she'd telling me, don't stare at me, look, I guess I used to kind of, like being in her space or something, and I would look at her a lot. So I just, I feel like that was my beginning of my connection, because that wonderful atmosphere was there in her classes, and I think I imbibed it unconsciously.
Margaret was my tutor when I was small.
Yeah, she did the same age I was. You were taking classes with her.
I was about 7 or 8.
Oh, you were really young. Wow.
And we were in Bangalore. And my physical health wasn't too good. So Baba said, he would show him some exercises and build him up a bit.
Oh, really?
So every morning, out on the in the open ground, Bangalore, we had a big open compound. So she would bring a small mat, spread it on the ground, and make me do exercises there.
Wow.
She showed me how to do it first, and make me do it, and supervised all.
You did private construction with her. My goodness, how lucky.
How to breathe and how to
really?
do certain exercises.
Wow.
And because Baba told us, she was so particular, everything.
So did you get stronger with it? Did it help you?
Yeah. Everything helps, whatever Baba does.
Everything helps. They say she was a perfectionist, was that correct?
She was really great, very humorous.
Very humorous.
And very witty. Baba liked that, very free, very transparent. So there were different types of people around him. He was that type, happy-go-lucky and very, very outgoing. And she had this, when she met Baba in England, she was doing all this work there, of ballet and all. And she had great connection with the theatre groups and all. So you should read her life. She has given how she introduced the theatre groups to Baba, and how she was great in helping people to come to Baba.
Meherwan, are you ready for a change of topic?
Yeah.
Because David here has a question he was wanting to ask, and several people directed him to you to ask the question.
Oh my goodness.
All right, the pressure is on. Okay?
So the gun is being pointed at
Yes, you are under the gun, sir.
me. So fire away.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've noticed, since I'm new, there are a lot of...
Just don't put your back to Baba.
Ah,
He wants to listen to.
yes.
You can sit here.
Sit here?
So you can see.
Okay. A lot
Baba
of...
is taking part in all this, huh?
This would be a good question, because I've been wondering. When looking at the 5 religions, I was wondering why Judaism wasn't one of the 5. What was the idea or the reasoning?
Yeah. That question used to frequently come up.
Yeah.
And what I gathered from my brother Elias is that Abraham, who was the father of this here, the patriarch or something, whatever. He came after Zoroaster. You know, Zoroaster was the first avatar of the faith, the first incarnation of Baba of this age. There were 7 that he told us. So first was Zoroaster, and that was some, according to, we don't know which, but about 10,000 years ago or something. And soon after that, a few centuries later, Abraham came. And the followers, Abraham was one of the avatars. But what happened is that the followers of Abraham must have told his close ones that I am the same one coming here. So there was a mix-up. The followers of Abraham were sort of the followers of the Zoroastrian faith, like that. Some such confusion was there. I'm not so clear about it, but that's how this got confused. So Abraham and Zoroaster, they got sort of together, you know.
That makes sense.
And so it wasn't separately done.
That makes sense.
It was there. Yeah. So that's why his name is not even mentioned in the 7 advents of his that he was saying. Later on, this might have been clarified with the Mandalli Baba's close one. And I came to know indirectly. I don't exactly know.
Right.
But it's something like that.
Okay. That makes sense. Good. Thank you for that.
Whether it's mentioned or not, what of it? As long as you love him,
Correct.
that's all that matters.
Correct.
And he's the one who brings you. I just told all these people, what brings people here? Who brings people? We don't. Our talking doesn't bring you all here. What made you come here? It's him that draws you, his love. So all that matters is to love him. People say, you people had the fortune to be in his physical presence so that you could obey him and obey his orders. How do we do it now? But why do you want to obey him in the first place? What makes us anyone obey someone? What is the reason? Would you go and want to obey somebody on the street? You wouldn't. So what makes you feel that way? Because you want to love that person, that's why you want to obey. Why you want to obey him? Because to please him. How do you love him? By pleasing him. How do you please him? By obeying him. Obeying him means something that would please him. That's obedience.
Yeah.
So his love is what draws everybody.
Yeah.
And following his wishes is obeying him.
I have found that obeying often connecting people's minds with actions, and also, as you just said, wishes. However, this is this area of imagining Baba's wishes and imagining that this or that action is actually obedience is a very confusing landscape.
Yeah.
And people say things out of helplessness, I feel, because it is so confusing. They don't know, we don't know what Baba's wishes are, nor do we know which actions are actually in the spirit of obedience. This is a big confusing thing.
There's no need for any confusion.
There is no need.
Mera,
Confusion.
Yes,
you take that and
yes,
read
I
it.
will read that out.
See, Baba has made it
It is,
black and white.
Good. Let's hear it.
So hear it now.
oh,
Read it loud and clear.
no problem with loud and clear at all.
Read every word
Yes.
slowly and let them hear it. And we
Baba
all
has-
want to hear it.
Yes, Baba has given us his wish. So, my wish, Baba said, the lover has to keep the wish of the beloved. My wish for my lovers is as follows. 1. Do not shirk your responsibilities. 2. Attend faithfully to your worldly duties, but always keep in the back of your mind that all this is Baba's. 3. When you feel happy, think Baba wants me to be happy. When you suffer, think Baba wants me to suffer. 4. Be resigned to every situation and think honestly and sincerely. Baba has placed me in this situation. 5. With the understanding that Baba is in everyone, try to help and serve others. 6. I say with my divine authority to each and all that whosoever takes my name at the time of breathing his last comes to me. So do not forget to remember me in your last moments. Unless you start remembering me from now on, it will be difficult to remember me when your end approaches. You should start practicing from now on. Even if you only take my name once every day, you will not forget to remember me in your dying moments. Meher Baba.
Now, isn't that very clear?
It's very beautiful, I would say.
Keep reading those. I do that quite often.
Yeah.
To remind myself what are his wishes. How do
And see, Renata, Baba is so merciful. He says in the 5th one, with the understanding that Baba is in everyone, try to help and serve others. He doesn't say try and love others. You know, you can't love everybody. So Baba
love,
makes it easy.
love him.
He
in-
doesn't.
Yeah. What he wants us to love him in everyone. Not love others, but love him.
Yes, unfortunately,
The
not
focus
everybody
should
is
be on
lovable.
him. That's the thing.
Personalities in the way, right?
And in order to do that, we should not be unkind to people. Don't hurt their feelings. Don't backbite. These are things that he has given out in great detail. Backbiting is the worst thing that you can ever do in your life. Because by backbiting a person, whatever is the faults of others, why speak about it to others? Because by doing so, you are gathering all the evil sanskars of that person upon yourself, and you are doing laundry work free of charge for that person.
That's not so.
So you have to take your own soap, your own water, your own washing place to wash other people's linen needlessly. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to waste your time? It's not nice. Don't do that. And today, the main topic of conversation in the world is backbiting and slandering. When people meet together, you know what they say, you know what that person said, you know what this person is doing. Some sort of gossip keeps going on. Needless waste of time. It's a waste of time, energy, and all your effort goes in waste, indulging in all this. So Baba has told us, never backbite. That's the one thing you should avoid at all costs. When you see faults in others, remember that it's your own reflection of your faults inside that you are seeing in others. The faults that you see in others is nothing but a reflection of all the faults, same faults that are within you. That's why you are able to see those faults. So a person who is focused on the Lord never sees faults of others. Just doesn't pay any heed to that. Can see that he's doing certain things which are wrong, but doesn't speak ill of that person. So these are the ways of loving him, of obeying his wishes.
I was reading Tukaram, and over and over again people would deceive him, they would take his money, they would, repeatedly take advantage of him, and he never ever realized or even expected something like that, because according to the book that I'm reading, he saw Hari in everybody. It was like, why would he even care? He didn't care. So
he goes one step ahead and actually prays to the Lord that keep me close, make me live close to people who will do my backbiting. I'll be getting washed by free of cost. So I would like to be in the vicinity of people who backbite. Let me constantly hear my faults being said to others. I love that. That's what he said.
Wow.
He was praying to the Lord. And he was a perfect master who was saying all this for the benefit of mankind. That's how it is. Why waste time in all this? Best time is to keep loving him. That's the way to spend the time. It answers so much of your question. Right, Baba. Baba will say that's what he wants. So you tell us what brought you to the Lord. Let them know.
How I came to Baba?
Yeah. Where were you? What were you? What's your name? Tell them.
My name is Yolanda, and I am Cypriot, but I live in New York. And many years ago, I had a supervisor and said to me, "You're ready. You're beyond words now. You're just ready to experience things." He says, "It's this place in Myrtle Beach. It's these cabins in the middle of nowhere. But buy this book, Discourses." So I bought the book. I opened the book. I read one sentence. I couldn't understand anything, so I closed Discourses.
Who's this person?
Alan Bernhardt. I've lost touch with him.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that this cabin's in the middle of nowhere. So I decided to go to Myrtle Beach. I didn't know anything about Baba. Nothing, really. I didn't read anything. So they accepted me. I went there, and my first visit in the bar, I have no idea what happened. I don't know what happened.
That love hit you.
That's how I came to him.
See how sweet and simple it is. His love, when you are ready, you can come into his orbit. It's not so easy. You come quite in a shortcut way because you are ready. But others have to struggle very hard to even hear his name. And those who hear his name, even once, they just hear it and forget all about it and don't pay any heed to it. But many years later, many years sometimes, almost towards the end of their life, they somehow come close to Baba and get into his orbit because the name has worked the miracle. That's why Baba said, do one thing wherever you go, try to give out my name, try to spread my name. There's no need to proselytize or do any propaganda. Just let them hear my name in any casual conversation that you do. And only let them hear the name Baba or Meher Baba. That's all. Once they hear my name, it goes on in their ear, that's your job is done with that person. Then don't pursue the matter further. The rest of the work is mine. From the ear to the heart is my work. And I do my work myself. Nobody else can do it. So leave that to me. So do one thing, do that. Instead of doing idle gossip, try to bring Baba in the conversation. Wherever you go, whatever you do.
You know, speaking of how many years it takes sometimes for people to come to Baba, some never do this lifetime. I mean, when I lived in Pune, I used to meet people socially and they would hear that I was connected with Baba and they would say, oh, we met your Meher Baba. And of course they did, because Baba used to give public darshans in Pune and they would come and see him. They've seen him in the physical form. But for them, it hasn't struck any chord in their lives at the moment. So it's there, it's like a seed that is germinating. It will take maybe another lifetime or two for it to germinate. But they have seen Baba, you know, they have been brought to Baba and bowed down before him as children. And so there are thousands and thousands of people still alive who've been with Baba physically, but have no heart connection to him just now. It will come. When? Who knows?
Baba was once in America, and I don't know which city, New York or something, or some place. And he was going along, being driven in a car on the main road or something. And there was a crossing and Baba's car had stopped there and another car just went by and there was another girl, tiny little girl watching through the side window, and she sees Baba seated in the car there. And Baba was looking out, and the young girl happens to say, "What a beautiful person that is. He's like Jesus." Something like that the child said. In the meantime, Baba's car passed away. That girl's parents drove along the other way. And then many years later, this child grew up and came into contact with Baba through the center or what. And she recollects that she had seen, that was the one she had seen when she was a very small child. I forget the name but this happened recently. The child. So that's why he went all over the world, laying his cable, contacting people. He went even to China, to Nanking. He used to go into the streets there in the small alleys and just keep roaming there. And people would just have a look at him. And today we find that the Chinese are starting to come. So he's doing his own work. And these miracles are unfolding every day. People once asked and said, what miracles do you perform? And Baba says, I have not come to perform any miracles. That's not my line to perform miracles. I have performed the greatest miracle that has ever been performed, and that is to bring out this creation. And one more miracle I'll do in this life, and that is when I break my silence. And when I break my silence, the whole world will come to me, and that will be the miracle of miracles. And this is the miracle that is happening. He is breaking his silence in you people, in everybody's hearts. And that is what is bringing you to him. That is the miracle that he is performing. So, these are the things that Baba would just give out spontaneously. There is another miracle standing at the window.
That I'm still alive.
What?
Reach the silk.
Tell us what brought you to Baba in a few words.
In a few words, okay. I came to Baba in a 3-minute span. I was going to college in New York City back in the 60s, and I took an art class, and there was a guy in the art class who was a Baba lover. I never heard of Baba, and he really didn't tell me much about Baba, but he asked me if I wanted to go to a Baba meeting. And these were the Monday night meetings in New York City. They were on West 57th Street opposite Carnegie Hall. It was in a little recital hall. So I went down there. It was kind of a miserable, winter day in New York City. There were 3 of us. We took the a subway down, and then the elevator door opened on the 4th floor, and there was a room that was a hallway that was about 15 feet wide and 20 feet deep. And what my impression was, what greeted us were all these old ladies. Fat ladies, thin ladies, black ladies, Puerto Rican ladies, Jewish ladies. And they saw us, they came up and hugged us, introduced themselves, and and passed us from one to the other. Then we got to the men, and they were all older people, and who had met Baba, and they passed us from one to the other. It took us about 20 minutes to go 15 feet. And this was very unusual. New York City, where this kind of spontaneous love, you walk off an elevator and there it is. And then eventually we made it into the hall. And there I sat at the back, and they shared, they had a movie of Baba. Some quotes were read of Baba, and I don't remember much of that. But at the end of the meeting, they would have a period of silence. It would last for 3 minutes. And Ella Winterfeld would ring a bell, and they asked everybody to think of Baba, who was in India. He was still physically on Earth. And then at the end of 3 minutes, they would ring the bell. And so they asked, people, and I closed my eyes, and I thought, I don't even know who he is. I can't, I'm not going to just meditate on somebody. I thought it was kind of funny, because I just came off the street, and they're asking me to meditate on their guru, So I thought, well, it's only 3 minutes of my life. I'll just, so I opened my eyes, and I looked around the room, and I saw all these older people. And there was a wholesomeness in the room. And then at the front of the room, there was a photograph of Baba on a large painting easel that they would bring in for each meeting. And I looked up, and Baba's eyes came alive. And the love in his eyes, I knew my whole life was meant to be lived for him. And I could see that he was God himself. And he began looking at everybody in the room, and they all had their eyes closed. And I could see that each one was his very favorite. I'd never seen someone look through a room where they take in each one so completely. And I thought in my mind, if they only knew how dearly he loves them. So Baba began looking at everybody in the room and with these love glances. And then eventually Baba came forward and face to face, and he let me look in his eyes. And I looked in his eyes, and there was no bottom to the love in his eyes. And I felt, this is the love. I suspected there was love underlying everything in this crazy world. Underlying this love, and that was in Baba's eyes. And the next thing I knew, I was lifted out of my seat, not my physical body, but some other body. I was lifted up, and I at the time I felt I was lifted out of creation into the being of God. And it was so even beyond sublime. I had never been to such a place. And from there, with Baba beside me, down below, I looked down, and there was 75 or 100 feet below was the room we were all in. And Baba said that he wanted me to serve his people. And my background was humanitarian. I didn't grow up in religion, and I just blurted out, why just them? Why not every man? But Baba, he didn't answer, and he said a few other things about my life. And the next thing I knew, the bell was ringing, and I was back in my seat. And I was just ecstatic. This is the last thing I expected on this cold, miserable winter night in New York, to find the whole purpose of my life and the one I should devote my life to. So
the span of a minute.
In 3 minutes, because she would time it, and it was 3 minutes. They rang the bell, so all that happened in 3 minutes. So that was how I came to Baba.
Tell what you heard then as everyone was leaving the meeting.
What's that?
Tell what you heard when people were leaving the meeting then.
And people left.
As people were leaving the meeting, you were leaving with people?
Well, when we left, I don't know if this is, but when we left, there were 3 of us. They hoisted me up on their shoulders, and we headed across West 57th Street as the theaters were emptying. And from when I was up on top of their shoulders, this thought came to me: we've got to be the 3 happiest guys on the face of the earth at this moment. That was that's how I
The 2
left.
had you on their shoulders?
Yeah. I don't know how it happened, but they just...
They were of the group.
Yeah. One of them was a guy named Ken Rickstad. That was his first time. But he came to Baba at that same night. Yeah.
What was the story you were in?
I was thinking, I thought Jeff said that as people were leaving, they didn't think it was that big a meeting, that good a meeting.
Oh, no, I didn't remember that.
Okay,
No.
so I'm confused.
It was way... But those meetings, Baba had his Nazar on those meetings because that was the Monday night group that had been in existence, I think, since the 40s. So, and they had almost all of them had met Baba. And after the meetings, we would go across the street. There was a cafeteria, and they would pull the tables together and bring in, we'd get pie a la mode and coffee. And then all of these people would share their times with Baba. So I'd just sit there, and I got to hear all the first-hand Baba stories, every week.
And didn't Baba come and have coffee with you, Jeff?
That was a week. That was a year later.
That was a year later, but he did.
Huh?
He did come and have coffee with you.
Well, okay, I'll add some, well, I'll add a little bit. So, I went out from that place that this put me into a very expanded state, a kind of honeymoon. From that place, looking at the world, it seemed crazy. I mean, it seemed like the whole place was aimless. And I vowed, because I'm kind of extreme, I vowed never to work again. I was just going to think of Baba. And I succeeded for like quite a long time without working. And then the news came that Baba was going to give darshan here in the spring of 1969. So there were some of us in Seattle, Washington. This is where this was in New York where this happened, and then I moved back to Seattle. And we used to get together and plot how we could get over to see Baba for the 69 darshan. And one was a lady who didn't have any money at all. She was epileptic. Another guy was kind of a hippie named Rusty. But we used to get together and try to come up with some way. Months went by, and we used to get together at this place called the Hasty Tasty Restaurant. And it was really a dump. It was a place, they had hamburgers on the grill 24 hours a day, and the windows were greasy, and people used to come in to sober up after drinking. But the thing that attracted us is for $1, you could drink a whole afternoon of coffee or a whole evening of coffee. They just kind of kept it over there. So we were sitting there. Then we heard that Baba dropped his body. That's a different thing. But then about 3 or 4 days later, we were in this restaurant drinking our usual coffee in the afternoon. And there was Rusty was opposite me, Marilyn was on the end, and I was sitting here. There's an empty chair next to me. And we were like sitting there, not talking about anything in particular, and suddenly Marilyn looks over at the empty chair next to me. She says, "Oh my God, Baba's sitting in that chair." And I started to turn my head, and Baba was like the light of 1,000 suns. I couldn't even look. Tears were coming down my eyes. I was trying to look in the chair, but it was so brilliant, all I could get is the outer fringe of that effulgence. And Baba came, he stayed for about, it's timeless, but I mean, it might have been a couple of minutes, and then he went, and we were like speechless. We just sat there, didn't say anything. After about a half hour, we held hands. Our coffees got cold, and finally we just got up and, paid our bill, and walked off. And we were very touched that we didn't have any money, and Baba came there and gave us this darshan. Now that was in 69, 69, about 3 or 4 days after Baba's dropped his body. Then about 15 years later, I was having dinner with Kitty, and she asked about my college days. And I said, well, Kitty, back in my college days, I didn't even really believe in God. In fact, I used to say this sarcastically to my buddies. I said, I don't believe in God, but if he would sit down and join me for a cup of coffee, that God I would give my whole life to. That was before I even knew of Baba. As soon, oh God, I'd totally forgotten that I used to say that. I don't believe in God, but if he would sit down and join me for a cup of coffee, if he was there in form, that God, I would give my whole life to.
All right.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Wow.
Thank you.
How did I?
What's that?
Jai Baba. Jai. Kaka, next time